So we're moving on now to section 5, and this is what to look out for others, signs and symptoms of mental ill health. Okay. So what to look out for others? This can be in your partner, it can be a colleague, it can be a friend, it can be a family member. Withdrawal. Withdrawal is a very important one. This is where maybe somebody isolates themselves. They're not communicating as much as they normally do. You can see maybe with that, not coming to work can be another example. Maybe not getting involved in those sports in school that they liked. A mood change. And a major mood change can be one moment being very, very angry and another moment being very tearful. Or it can be emotional outbursts. Disturbed sleep, a person might be not getting enough sleep or getting too much sleep. And disturbed eating patterns. So it's always something different, a change. Okay. And then another example is lack of care in personal appearances and personal responsibilities. And when we're talking about there is maybe poor hygiene, maybe not changing clothes, and maybe not paying, with personal responsibilities, maybe not paying those bills. Okay. And in the work and school environment or in hobbies, a drop in performance. You may know that maybe your child went from getting a grade A to maybe getting an E. So there's something different, something not going on right. And the same in work. A person may be consistently working at the same pace all the time and then there's a sudden drop in work. Uncharacteristic behaviour, and some of the uncharacteristic behaviour for some people who are in serious distress can be giving away possessions, can indeed that type of language a person might use, like a sense of hopelessness type of language, like I wish I could go to sleep and not wake up. Okay. Another uncharacteristic behaviour might be an increase in alcohol and drug use. Okay. A lack of interest in hobbies, that's an important one because when we're in a good place, we usually do the things we enjoy, so a lack of interest in hobbies. Another one is seeing things that nobody else hears or sees. So remember, mental health problems, they drain our energy, our they drain our energy, our optimism, and our motivation. Okay. And remember, a person can't just snap out of it, pull themselves together, or get over themselves. Okay. Recovery is usually gradual and not immediate. Okay. And remember that you cannot fix someone else's depression. You're not responsible for it. You can't rescue them. Okay. And you're not responsible for their happiness or lack of happiness. But what you can do is support them, is give them information and encourage them to get help. And then how to mind yourself when you're supporting someone else? Well, first of all, to acknowledge the impact it's having on you. Open, honest communication. You can't be a carer around the clock. Okay? Set boundaries and stay on track with your own life. Okay? And seek support. I will recommend a 3-person care team. That's yourself and the person that you're with the condition and a medical professional. I found this piece from the Aware leaflet on supporting a loved one through depression, and I thought it was a very good piece here. It's about how to mind yourself when you're supporting someone else, and that is, they talk about self-care is essential. So endeavour to take time out for yourself, and take time out for the things that matter in your own life as well. Now we're going to move on to section 6, and this is about what you can do as a line manager. As a line manager, you may be the first person to notice that there's a change in attitude and behaviour in your staff member. Early intervention is important so that the appropriate supports can be put in place. If you need to know anything further about this, you can contact the Civil Service Employee Assistance Service. You can also access our information guide on mental health and wellbeing in the workplace. So signs as a manager for you to look out for. Again, I said them earlier on characteristic behaviour. Okay. Might be somebody who maybe is of a consistent mood, maybe has experiencing emotional outbursts. If you know that somebody who's usually very energetic in the office is now becoming very tired all the time. And a change in performance, a person who works consistently, of a consistent standard, and suddenly there's a drop in performance. Increased frequency or level of absence, a change in a person's time and attendance in work, and a deterioration in punctuality. An example of that be if you know somebody maybe is always up time on their clock and now suddenly they're down 20 or 30 hours. We ask that you don't wait till the next PMDS to have that discussion with the person, to do this as early as you can. Okay. So how can you offer support? So how as a manager can you offer support? Well, remember, as a manager you have a duty of care and responsibility to look after your staff. So be aware of what's going on with your staff. It's important to meet the staff member and outline your concerns. Okay? Listen, have that two-way conversation. You may need to give reassurance and practical advice. And ask them, what can you do for them? What can help in the workplace? And how can you help them? Don't make judgments or diagnose because you're not a GP. You may indeed have to contact somebody on their behalf and respect confidentiality. And follow up. Don't just have that one conversation. It is very important to follow up with the person and promote the disability liaison officer, the Civil Service Employee Assistance Service, and the relevant civil service policies. Now, where can you get your support, your help, your advice, your guidance and assistance? Who can help you? Well, what are the supports in the workplace? Well, we have your senior manager, we have the Human Resources, the Disability Liaison Officer, and the Civil Service Employee Assistance Service. If you consider that a staff member requires medical assistance, and we know that this does happen, if you have a staff member who's come in unwell into work, if you have a staff member who's had an accident on the way to work and comes and finds himself in work, the same applies for the mental health problem. It's important to meet with a staff member in a private setting. Discuss why you're having the meeting. What have you observed? What have you experienced? And stick to the facts and listen. Listening is very important. And agree a plan with the person. You may indeed have to contact a family member. You may indeed have to obtain emergency contact details. And that may be indeed contact an ambulance. Okay. And seek support from a senior manager or your HR division. So here are some hints and tips. We have got what's called a planned approach to how you might deal with a situation. It's important to clarify your concerns. If you're concerned about somebody, take time out to think about it. Think about what have I observed here. Don't ignore signs. If you notice a deterioration in your staff member, it's very important that you deal with it, that you don't think that somebody else is going to look after it. Don't assume that somebody else will deal with it. Okay? Consult with others where appropriate. Discuss your concerns with others where appropriate and get some support for yourself. And avoid diagnosing, don't make assumptions. And you're not a medical expert. And assess the possibilities. Consider how you might approach the person. If you're feeling apprehensive, the conversation is unlikely to be constructive. So take time out to see how you're going to approach the person. An early intervention. Having thought through the situation, speak with the staff member in a timely fashion. Now we're moving on to section 7, and this is on colleagues. What can you do as a colleague? And before we move on to this section, I want you to reflect for a moment on what helped you when you were in distress. And what helped you? What did a colleague do that helped you, that worked for you? It doesn't have to be something very, very formal. It can be something very simple. Okay? It can be including somebody. It can be even saying hello. It can be an acknowledgement of that person. So we ask you to be open to listening. If you notice a change or something different or deterioration in somebody, to be open to listening. Don't ignore signs. And consult with others where appropriate. And don't diagnose. And we ask you to early intervention is very, very important, and to show you care. compassion and understanding and caring are very important things. And we asked you, this is a little bit for all of us, about treating our colleagues with respect. Be aware of how our behaviours and affect others. Remember value differences. We are all different, we are all unique, and we all make our own unique contribution. Be cautious about your language and be mindful of offensive language. Be aware of the civil service policies relating to the positive working environment. We have indeed a new Dignity at Work policy that was launched recently. Make sure that you're familiar with that policy. Now I'm going to play you a small YouTube clip. It's a very short clip, and it's about the importance of listening.
You don't do yourself any favours.
You're making a big deal out of nothing.
Oh, grow up. Sure, we all have bad days.
Just get over it.
Stop being so paranoid.
Look, we all have our own problems. Things aren't that bad.
Stop talking, you sound like a dope.
It's all in your head.
You to be depressed
Just have
about.
a drink, you'd be
You make a
grand.
big deal out of nothing.
Just take it together.
Just get a few pints in you. You'll be grand then.
Is it any wonder that 1 in 2 Irish people would rather suffer in silence? You don't need to be an expert to start talking about mental health or have all the answers. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is to let someone know that you're there for them. Ask them how they're doing and simply listen.
We're now going on to the final section of this webcast, and this is section 8, which is on internal and external resources. So about the supports and resources that are available for you. So talking about the internal and resources first of all, and support. So remember, your own knowledge, your own experience and your own expertise is very, very important. Don't forget that. Then we have your colleagues, we have your manager, human resources, the Disability Liaison Officer, the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, the Civil Service Policies and Guidelines, and the Civil Service Employee Assistance Service. These are all internal supports that you have. Now, your external supports and resources. In our information guide on mental health and wellbeing in the workplace, Appendix 2 has an extensive list, 19 pages to be accurate, of all the voluntary organisations that are out there, their services they offer, their telephone numbers, and including contact details like email addresses. An example of those would be family supports, mental health supports, financial supports. So just bear in mind that document, and by clicking on that link, that will bring you into that particular document. So in preparing this webcast, we got information from a number of sources detailed in the following slides. So I'm just going to let them run through for a moment, and I'll come back to you then at the end. So you see some of these resources are listed here on the webcast. National Office of Suicide Prevention, Aware, Mental Health Ireland, Your Mental Health, Psych Central, Google Images, YouTube, The Help Guide, Suicide or Survive, okay, Changing Ireland. And these are some booklets. Suicide Prevention in the Workplace by the HSC, Your Mental Health Information Booklet again, The Journey Together, an information booklet for families and friends who support people experiencing mental health problems. An Aware booklet, Depression, Keeping Hope Alive. And then we've looked on your Tubridy's book, When Panic Attacks, including a CD. So these are some of the resources that are out there for you. And then Hummings, this is only a very small amount of the ones that we've mentioned. There are numerous resources out there that you can get by accessing the internet, or indeed by accessing your local library, or citizens' information. So source of information consulting with IBEC, the Mental Health and Wellbeing Aligned Manager's Guide. Okay. An information leaflet looking after your mental health in tough economic times, and consulting the Irish Hospice Foundation, Breaking the Silence in the Workplace, a guide for employers on responding to suicide in the workplace. Other sources of information, we have the leaflet here on postnatal depression, a guide for mothers, family and friends. Another leaflet there from the IFA and Pieta House on Mind Your Farm Families, concerned about suicide, a leaflet from the HSC, and your Guide to Bipolar Disorder, 99andMe, supporting the 1 in 100 bipolar, with bipolar, a leaflet from 99andMe. And then we have Think, Feel, Act, Beat the Blues Workbook, a positive mental health program for senior cycle students out from Aware. So these are just some sources of information that we accessed in making this webcast. Now, this is the end of the presentation, and just if anything comes up for you as you are looking at this webcast, please feel free to contact the Civil Service Employee Assistance Service. We have a central telephone number, it's listed there, but it's 0761 00 0030. We are open from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5:45 right through lunch, Monday to Thursday, and then from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5:15 on a Friday right through lunch. And also remember your designated employee assistance officer. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine for their time, for their and their patience, because they were the ones who facilitated the making of this webcast on behalf of the CSEAS. Thank you.